but still on the Museveni thing.
Mm-hmm.
First, I would like to know what your takeaway was in terms of how, first of all, you then the his handlers and the president himself. Has there been any pushback from the interview? One. Then two, here is a man who is 77, almost 80. He came to power in 1986.
Mm-hmm.
For some of us who were, growing up in Nigeria, those days following his resistance movement,
Mm-hmm.
almost 40 years in power.
Mm-hmm.
What's your own general assessment about his justification for remaining in power, and do you think it's something that is valid?
Museveni is the third longest serving president in Africa. He justifies it by his sense of unfinished business, but also that the people keep voting for him, even though the opposition says that the elections are always largely never credible. Okay, so I mean, I asked him if he was going to run again. He said that's up to Ugandans to decide, but that he personally feels a sense of unfinished business. So if he sees them voting for him as an endorsement to keep on doing it. But then the argument is always, but the electoral process, the election is usually not credible. So, as I mentioned earlier, it's for him, it's an honor to keep serving his country. But people who look closely, and with all of the things that he's done, the adjustment of the constitution, the removal of age limits, all the tweaks, different things that the steps that's been taken in the past to accommodate this dream and this vision and this idea of let me keep running and finish what I've started, it kind of somehow it makes that dream of him, it puts it into question because it's like I want to be there by all means necessary, and that is undemocratic, right? So that's the biggest challenge. And I mean, like I said earlier, Museveni has great ideas. There was a time he was the darling of the West. Remember when he first started the West? I mean, look, if you see the New York article, New York Times article, they were so happy that Idi Amin was gone because they saw Idi Amin as the conduit for Islam and warming up to the Russians. So the West had their own they had their own interest to protect, and any African leader shortly after our independence in the 60s and late 50s, anyone who did align with whatever they were trying to do between them was seen as the enemy. And although Idi Amin was a bad boy,